Alright guys, Fatality here. So basically what I'm going to do in this video is go over every single one of these matchups and how to play them as Captain Falcon, starting from the top, which is based off the most recent tier list released by the Smash 4 Backroom. So I'll begin with Bayonetta, of course. Alright, so Falcon Bayonetta I think is -1 for Falcon, not bad, completely doable. Mostly what you want to be doing in neutral game to start is Bayonetta is going to be relying on a combination of fairs, especially fairs to try and cross up on shield and just make you feel like you can't press any buttons. Witch twists, not as much. She's going to want to heal slide towards you a lot, and she's mostly going to be doing it to try and read certain movement patterns, and otherwise they're just going to camp with neutral airs, especially drifting backwards, and back airs. So most of what Bayonetta is going to be able to do against Falcon is she actually has a very hard time effectively moving forward against him because of the combination of his burst range and her approach options in general not being the best. She mostly just gets a lot when she actually hits you. But the way you want to deal with this is you do a lot of waiting and just trying to find tiny little openings and how they present themselves so that you can run forward and dash tag or dash grab. So what you mainly want to do is stall for time, camp a little bit so that you have enough time to watch what they're doing, try and figure out how do they like to do their neutral airs, how do they like to do heal slides. Do they typically mix up between the two options, like are they going to regular heal slide or heal slide chew very often, things like that. And are they going to downwards ABK a lot, which you can also punish. For the most part, you're going to wait until she does something and then either punish it on reaction or just try and get a read for how she uses these options and does that. And the way you do that is by camping to get enough time. So when you have her in disadvantage, the main way you want to proceed is you're going to just try and stay below her, not necessarily extend combos, but force her to use her attacks like neutral air or other things like that and just continue to juggle her. For the most part, if you continue to just up air them into oblivion, eventually they're going to want to use Witch Time or something like that, and if they do it grounded, you can forward smash it on reaction, or if they do it in the air and they're at only like mid percents, you can do like full hop neutral air into fast fall, full hop up air, double jump up air into either another up air or maybe something else if you're like on a platform or something. Let's see. Another thing you can do is if Bayonetta starts camping too much with or tries to abuse her options too much and just uses too many ABKs, witch twists or what have you to just harass your shield or whatever, it's best to not necessarily try and challenge it. You mostly just want to focus on just waiting it out, stay below her, and eventually she's going to have to land, and because you're Falcon, you'll be able to chase her down. So most Bayonettas, instead of doing this, will obviously just go to the ledge, which is fine too. You can ledge trap her pretty effectively. If she, say, witch twists at the ledge, you can just wait it out and jab, or if they do it higher, you can do neutral air or up air, both of which are frame 6 and will beat her other options. If you just, obviously because of her not the best frame data on her get up options in general, jab will beat pretty much everything. If she does like double jump air dodge, you can back air it. You can just cover her roll options per normal, what have you. And otherwise, that about covers it for how you want to do that. Obviously, when you have her in disadvantage or you're comboing her, you want to not necessarily push things any further than you need to because of Witch Time. You don't necessarily get hit by Witch Time this much if you just play the matchup smartly and just avoid it. Just play conservatively, play patient, and just continue to camp and gain all as much information as you can. It's kind of lame, but Falcon has to do that in this matchup, so it's okay. When you're in disadvantage, this is important against Bayo, you mainly want to focus on just learning how to properly SDI Witch Twist and other moves like that. So the way you mainly are going to want to SDI Witch Twist is there isn't actually a main way you want to do it across the board, but at lower percents, I usually like to go straight up. This is simply because, and not just straight up, but you use the top 3 grooves of your GameCube controller and you effectively just mash the stick between those as fast as you can. If you can do that on reaction to Witch Twist a lot of the time, especially if they don't have any rage, you'll just go off the top and you won't even get flung, so you don't have to worry about bad follow-ups occurring as a consequence of it. You just fly out and then you can run away. It's fine. ABK, you generally want to DI down and towards them, and make sure that you're mashing the stick for that as well. And this goes for both ABKs, if they do that. Otherwise, for fair, you generally want to DI that just down and away. Don't even SDI. For whatever reason, it actually is easier to hit you if you do it like that. And otherwise, it's not, you don't necessarily want to always DI anything. Bayonetta does the same way. Her combo tree is so immense that she can cover almost everything, no matter their DI, if you're perfect enough. So it's usually better to just, instead of saying always do the same thing, just have strong default options that beat a lot of wish twist forms or ABK forms or what have you, and then just mix up your DI the rest of the time, even in ways that aren't necessarily the most logical, simply because of Bayonetta's ability to cover those things. It just will help you a lot, and it'll make it that much harder for them to deal with you in general. Alright, I think that about sums up Bayo. Now Cloud. Cloud is a much simpler matchup. This one is a very momentum-driven matchup in the sense that most of how you want to play neutral is going to be a lot more aggressive than you do against Bayonetta, because you can approach him relatively freely, and he's not necessarily going to be able to keep you out that much. So most of you are going to be going in on each other. The way this is going to go about is most of how you want to get him to commit to things and punish him is you'll get relatively close to him when he's charging limit. And then from there, it's usually want to weave in and out of his range so that if he goes for down air, you're not necessarily going to be hit by it, and you can just chase after him when he fast falls. This is especially applicable if you run up shield, which is really, really good against Cloud. Run up shield is really, really good against Cloud, especially if they try and dare point blank, because after shielding the first hit of dare, you won't get hit by any more hits of dare as long as you shield the initial one. So you can literally just freely chase him as he's trying to fast fall it down and do whatever you want, which is great. Great for Falcon. After that, there's dealing with cross slash, which for the most part you just SDI straight up, or you just want to try and figure out how they're going to do it, and if you can, go through it and punish it, because a lot of times you'll be able to jab in between the second hits and the rest of it. Let's see. Otherwise, they're going to want to use a lot of aerials. They're going to run around a lot. So a lot of it is just movement patterns and just trying to make sure your movement isn't ambiguous enough to where you don't get red as well. Regarding back air camping, you can also camp him effectively with your own back air. You can do perfect pivot jabs away and just general dash dancing to be annoying for him. And both characters can keep each other out. Both characters can also approach each other. So it's mostly just about momentum and getting movement reads and making sure that your movement stays ambiguous. Even though I already said that, I can't stress it enough, therefore I said it again. Otherwise, in disadvantage, it's usually best to just go straight up and make sure that the things you're going to get hit by no matter what, you do get hit by, but then as long as you DI straight up and stay vigilant, you'll be able to double jump out of anything else for the most part, and then he won't be able to follow you up as long as you can just go to whichever side, or drift to whichever side he's not going to cover. Just watch his movement and figure out which one that is, and you'll be able to get away for the most part. You'll take like 30 damage, but it's better than taking 50 plus or even dying, so it's fine. And you can do stuff like that to him, so it goes both ways. Matchup's -1 for Falcon. It's not bad, but he's fine. Otherwise, when you have him in advantage, he's going to try and up air out of a lot of things. So like at early percents, you want to do, say, down throw and to dash attack instead of down throw and neutral air, unless you get a dash grab. In which case, you'll still be able to do guaranteed neutral air, but the spacing is a little bit limited. The spacing is a lot harder to do. So if you just want to play it safe, do down throw dash attack into like up air frame trap jab, because if they air dodge through it, you'll just be able to jab and then they're off stage. Otherwise, especially that, let's see, he's mostly going to do that. He's not really going to nair much, so you don't really have to worry about that. You don't really have to worry about down air too much either. You mostly just have to worry about up air, so just stay below him and just don't necessarily go for anything too crazy. Just do instant short hop up airs and a million of them, and you should be fine for covering most of his disadvantaged options. Regarding edge guarding Cloud and avoiding getting edge guarded, it's also similar to the aforementioned neutral game, where it's mostly just about getting movement reads, and most of Cloud's, they're going to drop off the ledge and neutral air or things like that, so try and drift just far enough away from the ledge that you're not going to get hit by the initial neutral air, and if you get hit by a second one, try and get close enough in by the time that happens to where if it does, you'll be able to say ledge tech wall jump down air or something like that if they then try and up B. It's a little bit elaborate, but you can realistically do it and just kill clouds, which is nice. And reversals are good in general. Otherwise, he might say try and go for cross slash, which you won't really be able to do anything about directly, but just make sure that if they are going to do cross slash, that you force them to use limit and just try and predict when they're going to do it and then get around them. You can get around them and up B them a lot of the time, unless they do cross slash to try and stage spike you, in which case you just wait a good second, tech it, and then you can like ledge check, wall jump, down air, or whatever. Have fun with it. Regarding edge guarding him, you mostly want to try and force him to recover relatively high, because if you can make him up B high to grab the ledge, you can power shield the up B, and then either grab or jab him before he grabs the ledge. And then if you grab him, don't throw him, and don't even pummel him, just hold him and wait for him to fall out. He'll be forced to up B and you can easily down tilt him. Or in the case of him not recovering highly, you mostly just want to figure out how they're going to use cross slash to stall, and then either get around that and hit them with back airs, or just chase them with neutral airs and up airs. Most of the time when they're doing that, they're just going to focus on making sure that they save their double jump. So a lot of the time, it's best to just go for things raw against Cloud, because good Clouds are not necessarily going to want to use their resources much against you, or even air dodge. So a lot of the time you can go out there and back air them relatively freely, which I get way more often than I should for that reason. And otherwise, I mean, if he recovers low, you can just down air him on reaction, and he's Cloud, he's gonna die, it's fine. Alright, that about sums that one up. Regarding Diddy, the next character in S tier, I think this matchup is even. The way that this one's going to typically go is there's two modes of neutral. There's banana neutral and there's not banana neutral. Not banana neutral, Diddy isn't necessarily able to impose himself on you effectively because of you being able to punish forward air on reaction with dash grabs as long as you space yourself well. So most good Diddies, when they don't have banana, they're just going to run around and not necessarily commit to anything and just wait until you do something that they can punish. So this is another matchup that when they have banana, or rather when they don't have banana, it's going to be all about reading their movement. Just watch how they're going to react to you being close to them when they don't have banana, because very few Diddies will stand in place. So if you have to try and go for some kind of read on movement, assume they're either going to move forwards or move backwards. A lot of the time it's safer to assume they're going to move backwards, because if you overshoot on accident with, say, dash grab or dash attack, that usually means that if you're doing it while they're moving, that they're just going to end up running way past you, and then they won't be able to punish it. So it's a lot better to overshoot these things on purpose against Diddy a lot of the time, and then just try and use a combination of neutral air and back air zoning to try and cover the center so that you can make him go backwards, and then do that. If he doesn't have, or rather if he does have banana, it becomes a lot different, because obviously he can punish pretty much everything you do on reaction. So in a lot of ways, you actually shift gears and you become the one that is waiting for them to make a mistake and then punish them. You want to make sure that when they have banana, to not be afraid of it. Be perfectly okay with like empty hopping in front of them and then rolling behind them or things like that, and just freely dash dancing around the stage, because if you're far away when they hit you with the banana, it'll be hard for them to get particularly good follow-ups from it. And a lot of the time, if you run freely around him and show that you're willing to stay near him, it'll actually be very hard for them to find a good opening that they even want to use banana in. Because you have to realize when they're holding banana, they're waiting for you to do something that they can very readily be cognizant of their ability to punish you with it. So as long as you just run around them freely and just make sure that you're ambiguous in your movement, it's actually pretty hard for them to effectively know when they want to throw banana, which means they're going to freeze a lot. And once you know that they're freezing a lot, that means that you'll suddenly be able to ignore the fact that they have banana and like just run up and grab them, jab, or whatever. And then you can make them paranoid of even just sitting there with banana in the first place, which means they're going to start throwing it preemptively, which means good news for you, you're not getting harassed by banana anymore, because They're not just threatening you with it into eternity. Let's see. That about sums up how you want to play neutral against Diddy, other than like you... Oh, one last thing I forgot to mention. When Diddy monkey flips, you really shouldn't try to challenge it. If you're far away, you can do pivot forward smashes to punish regular kick or just not. And if they do it close, and if they do and you're closer or you're not able to do that, just make sure that you spot dodge it. Don't try and challenge it, don't roll, don't do anything else, just spot dodge, you'll maintain your position, you'll be able to chase them down, it's fine. And if they go off stage, that's fine too. Regarding dealing with his disadvantage state, it's pretty simple. For the most part, you just accept that you're going to be hit by like up throw, up air, and then just DI up and away, and then just jump away, and you'll be able to get away from most of his options then. It's fine. His advantage state on you is not that scary for the most part. He mostly just wins neutral a lot, but that's okay because you live forever and he definitely doesn't most of the time. Otherwise, when you have him in an advantage, a lot of Diddies are going to want to jump out and then monkey flip, so just make sure that you use very safe pressure, make them want to monkey flip high, and then you can cover that with like knee or down air or things like that. And Diddy's going to die pretty early in this matchup, decently often, so even though he wins neutral much more than you, you make up for it by how much easier it is for you to kill him, especially off stage. So there's that. A lot of the time when they do high monkey flips, you can also safely assume that they're going to be reversed, so just cover that with like back airs, or this might sound kind of silly, you can also do Falcon kick. It covers an enormous amount of space, but it actually works, and I do it fairly often. Works pretty well. Otherwise, edge guarding Diddy is mostly going to be making him either monkey flip high and punishing that, or if they're not going to monkey flip high, most of the time they're just going to go for regular up Bs, which you can just edge guard by hitting them with weak knee, which will pretty much flat out kill them unless they're at super high percents. Or you can also just do back airs and just continue to chase them with a wall of aerials. At lower percents, it almost doesn't matter what aerial you hit them with, as long as they're about to do barrels, because if you just hit them at low percents, even with like up air, when they're in barrel, they're usually just going to die. So just go really ham against Diddy off stage, chase him. Don't try and just like ledge trap him or whatever, go after Diddy. Because even if you miss a lot of the time, it's worth taking the risk of maybe getting down tilted, coming back on stage, to just flat out kill him, which you will be able to decently often, and it will make it all worth it. That about sums up Diddy. On to Sheik. Now, Sheik is a character that you mostly want to do a lot of back air camping against, and a lot of perfect pivot jab and dash dancing. You can't necessarily commit much against her because of how much better her frame data is than yours across the board, and you're also going to lose neutral a lot, but that's okay. You mostly want to just try and trade a lot with back airs, and especially like back airs, jab is pretty solid in this matchup. Another thing that's important to do is to retreating forward tilts are actually pretty solid. They beat out a lot of her approaching options. You're mostly just going to be camping with you're mostly just going to be doing a lot of dash dancing, trying to get movement reads and get approaches, or just trying to trade back air with like forward air and things like that, because if you can aggressively trade with Sheik, that's good news for you because your attacks do more damage, you live longer, and she lives way less long. So it ends up working out well. Regarding needles, you're mostly just going to do a lot of empty hopping around in the midst of your dash dancing, so that if they do throw needles and you're at a decent distance, hopefully you'll have jumped over them, and then you'll be able to run in and punish. You can punish needles from quite a large distance if you jump over them because of your dash speed, so you mostly just want to make them scared to throw needles and just make them more reliant on just forward air and just going for raw grabs, because that's a game that Falcon can do much better in, and otherwise your movement and dash attack dash grab will be able to be a lot more effective if you don't really have to worry about constantly getting harassed by needles. Regarding moving on from that, there's, let's see. Oh yes, the main way you want to handle being comboed by her is you want to DI and SDI straight up and away, so that it's okay to get hit by her things, but if you DI up and away, then it's mostly going to take away her ability to do a lot of her more damaging combos to you, and for the most part she'll just do like 30 or 40, and then you'll be back to being able to double jump out of it and do whatever you want from there. Make sure you SDI very frantically, especially with perfect pivot combos, so that you can take advantage of the fact that she's hitting you a lot, so that means you have a lot more opportunities to influence yourself with SDI and eventually just get away from it. Regarding that, there's then... let's see. Oh yes. When you're comboing her, you mostly want to... she's actually one of the characters that you can do down throw and footstool, and it's guaranteed. So you really want to abuse that. Make sure this is something you practice against Sheik and just the lighter characters in general, because it's something you'll be able to push to the limits. You can do like down throw at 0 into footstool, down air into forward tilt, and if they're by the ledge, you can then do up air, up tilt, and then just true frame their down air. Or true frame their up B with down air, things like that. Another thing is that you mostly just want to just continue to jump up, to juggle her with up airs, and then once you know that they're out of hit stun, they're probably going to try and bouncing fish away from you. So if they're bouncing fishing off stage, cool, you can ledge trap them. And if they're not going to do it off stage, just assume they're going to do it more towards the center of the stage or the other side, and then just chase them down. Sometimes you can even read it and like down air or knee them if they try and bouncing fish the other way, although that might be more of a call out than some people are willing to go for. So it's fine if you don't want to. Regarding recovering against Sheik, it's mostly going to be a combination of using a lot of full hop back airs off stage, combined with just down tilt if they try and recover onto the ledge. You want to mainly discourage them from being able to recover straight on stage and force them to up B. If you can force them to up B, you want to use a combination of the aforementioned down tilts and back airs to make them not want to up B high up and go into the ledge, because that takes away their true frame and vulnerability. You want to try and force them to up B lower so that you can true frame them with down air, which is honestly not unrealistic at all, especially with practice. And with practice, you can kill Sheik pretty well off stage doing just that. So the only way you want to a lot of times when they do their up B, try and hit down air on the C stick the moment they poof in the explosion. And that's usually when you'll be able, if you press the C stick right about then, you'll usually either beat up B or trade with it, which is obviously a great trade to make. In both outcomes, they'll die at like 40 or 45 and up usually. And if they don't flat out die from it, then a lot of times they'll be so low that you can just down air them again to make sure that they die, and then that'll be fine too, and they won't really be able to avoid the second down air as long as you execute properly. So you just use the back airs and down tilts to make them not want to up B high. Regarding being edge guarded by Sheik, she's going to go ham against you a lot, so you usually want to just focus on making sure that you have a sound set up so that you can clearly hear game sound, because you can actually dodge bouncing fish on reaction with an air dodge. It's challenging, but very doable, so I recommend you guys practice that. Make sure that you're just sitting there. Avoid her aerials and don't necessarily try to avoid bouncing fish. Just be waiting for it at all times, and then if you hear the sound, air dodge, and you'll be able to on reaction. It's a little bit hard, but doable with practice. As long as you don't worry too much about bouncing fish because of that, then you can then make the next step, which is just to focus on avoiding her aerials. If she tries to go low, it's usually better to just up B really high and then drift to the ledge afterwards. Or if you think they're going to cover that, then you can just up B and go straight forward and don't even bother trying to go for the ledge. Force them to commit to chasing you on stage, and then if they don't, you're in the center of the stage and they're not. Great, you have stage control. And if you aren't really able to do any of that, try to recover really low, but try not to dip up until you're already all the way by the stage again, so that they're forced to try and stage spike you. And that's okay, because just be ready to tech those things. Don't do regular techs, do ledge tech wall jump, so that you can either then immediately Raptor Trump, or if you want, or if you're feeling especially brave and you have a read, you can do like ledge tech wall jump down air. Or if you just want to get back on stage, you can ledge tech wall jump, double jump side B back on stage, or things like that. So you don't have to worry about getting edge guard anymore. Sure, you took some hits, but it's better than dying. You can afford to take hits against Sheik, because as long as you don't get hit by bouncing fish, then she's not going to kill you for forever, which means you have Rage Falcon. Which means you'll be able to do like up air knee and kill her after hit at like 70, sometimes a little bit lower, and pretty much universally higher. Raptor Boost will kill at like 90 with a lot of rage. You'll be able to, if you think that they're going to say jump at you with forward air, you can just throw out forward smash and just kill them at like 70. It's great. In general, your ability to kill her super early and semi-consistently because of how long you live makes the matchup almost even, but I think it's just -1 for Falcon. On to Rosalina. Rosalina is a character that I think you go even with. I know DeBuzz thinks that she slightly wins, but I'm not sure about that. Regarding the even matchup, you're mostly going to want to... How you mostly play against Rosalina and Luma is going to be she's going to use a combination of neutral airs and mostly just a lot of mix-ups and jab patterns to try and catch you running in. So mostly you just want to camp long enough to where you have enough information on how she likes to use jab, so that you'll be able to squeeze in throughout the jabs. For instance, if their jab pattern is something like dun 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 dun, then you would just squeeze in before the third and second dun or whatever. Or another example would be like if they just do it normally, like jab, 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 and then they just do the rapid jab, you can just jump over and back air them, and that's okay too. A lot of the time, if they want to rely more on boxing you out with Luma, you don't necessarily want to focus on attacking Rosalina. Just stay outside of that range just a little bit and just harass Luma itself with a forward tilt, back airs, and if you can get close enough, jab. Because if they're just going to... If Rosalina's far away, then you don't have to worry about them dash attacking you on reaction, so you'll be able to just beat up Luma and force them to come over, and then you can like dash grab them or something like that. Another pro tip, a lot of Rosalinas, when you're beating up Luma, are just going to run towards you, so you can just immediately run towards them and intercept them with a dash grab or dash attack. Super, super free against the vast majority of Rosalinas. And of course, if any Rosalinas watch this video and start doing otherwise, well, now you can just stand there and they're just going to whiff because they're just dash attacking it into nothingness, and you can just punish that per normal. So it's a win-win situation for the most part. Most of the matchup is just going to figuring out their jab patterns, beating up Luma if Rosalina is kind of far from her, and if you're not, just try and dash attack or dash grab so you can hit Rosalina and then have a little bit of a frame advantage to where you can then dash attack or jab Luma and just chase them. Usually what you're going to do is jab, and if that doesn't kill, just then chase Luma, do dash attack into reverse air or rush back air. That's usually enough to kill Rosalina. That'll kill Luma most of the time, and if not, you can just do another back air. It's fine. You mostly just want to use back air, jab, and dash attack for killing Luma. Get her out of the way, and then once you can kind of just freely chase Rosalina, and there won't be that much she can do to keep you out. She kind of just has to run around in panic and hope that you don't obliterate her, which you honestly can. Something to do when she doesn't have Luma is you can just freely tomahawk a lot, and you'll be able to get them to shield. You can grab them, chase them into oblivion. It's great. And you can also juggle her into oblivion because her landing options aside from down air are honestly pretty bad. And even down air you can beat out with up air or back airs depending on spacing. So once you get her in the air, do not let her land for any reason. You can keep her in the air for the rest of her stock, and that's not even inconceivable. And you can get her in the air once and she'll die as long as you execute properly. So just make sure that you move forward. You continue to harass her with up airs indefinitely, and eventually you can just like Raptor Boost or back air knee or whatever. let's see, that's juggling, neutral game. Oh yes, regarding recovering against her and disadvantage. So disadvantage, I'm not gonna paraphrase this. It sucks a lot. It's really, really bad. Both these characters annihilate each other in disadvantage. It makes the matchup super volatile. So basically, she's going to be able to up air you, and there's not much you can do about it a lot of the time. Usually, if you're not worried about dying, you just want to DI up, get hit by 1 or 2, and then from there, try and either beat out... If they try and make them want to wait for an air dodge and then down air them, or if they're not going to wait for air dodge, jump in air dodge and then just try and land. It's usually best to try and land with like back air or up air if you can, although if you can't, at higher percents you can also Falcon kick and use weak knee. Only use these at higher percents though, and if you're reading an option such as say up smash or what have you. Like if you think Rosalina is about to up smash you when you're landing, then you can just stall out the move's hitbox and then hit them with Falcon kick or weak knee. And as long as they're at like 30-ish% or higher, you'll be safe afterwards. If you use it below them though, you'll probably get punished on reaction, so watch out. Be careful with that. It's mostly just figuring out, are they going to just keep up airing or are they going to wait for an air dodge and then acting accordingly. If they're waiting for an air dodge, you just throw out a hitbox to try and hit them. If they're not going to wait for it, you try and jump out and then just land if you can. If they're not necessarily going to chase you in the air that much, then you mostly just want to mix up your drifts and try and land relatively close to her so that you can potentially cross her up, and if she guesses wrong, you're suddenly in her face and now you can reset the situation in your favor. It's better to, if she's going to just cover you from the ground, to just make her guess between left or right next to her. That way, if she guesses wrong, you can just punish her into oblivion. Sure, she's still going to guess right and her hitboxes are large, so she's going to be able to cover both sometimes, but the one time you do get in is going to make it worth it, so it's fine. Let's see. When she's edge guarding you, she's going to use a lot of combinations of down air and neutral air, and while the hitboxes themselves are enormous and extremely dangerous, they're not that fast, so as long as you just keep a close eye on her current position, you can react to most of the options she can represent on reaction. So mostly just focus on not getting hit out of double jump early. Don't get neutral aired up high, and if you are going to get hit by down air, make sure that you still have your double jump, or you're getting hit by like the hitbox of down air that's closer to the stage that you can ledge take wall jump back air or something like that. Otherwise, it's mostly just a matter of recognizing her current position and the amount of options she has available to her, and then just going with it otherwise. Regarding edge guarding her, it's actually relatively simple. Most Rosalinas, because of their bad recovery, or not bad, but very exploitable, are going to focus on using aerials to try and land on stage so that they don't have to get up from the ledge because of how bad it is for her. So a lot of time you should just assume they're going to come up with like up air or neutral air or something like that, and then like power shield it and down tilt them or things like that. Down tilt is amazing for beating that out in general, and then you'll be able to force them to be at a predictable timing and down air them, for instance. You're mostly just going to use power shield down tilt and down air to edge guard them, or if they try and edge guard high, you can back air or knee. But you mostly just want to discourage them from recovering high, force them to recover low or on the stage. If you can't hit them when they're coming on stage, then that means they'll have to up B, and then at lower percents you can chase them with like weak knee into up air up B, or weak knee up air up B, or weak knee up air into you're back on stage and now you can chase them with back airs again, things like that. Or even weak knee into down air sometimes. And if they're at like 35% or higher, you usually just want to try and just jump off stage and not necessarily fast fall down air, but just short hop down air and then up air back on stage so that if they go past you, you hit them. And if they don't, you land with no landing lag, so you can then just go back to ledge trapping them. You basically just have a chance to kill them super early, but you also might not, and then you can just ledge trap them with jab, which they're not going to be able to do that much about, and if they try and do, say, ledge hop air dodge, you can just up air. If they roll, you can just throw them back with a pivot grab, or you can just back air them, or forward smash. Forward smash is also really good for catching their landings because of how big she is, and especially if you can hit Luma because it will extend the hurt box. Or hitbox, rather. That about covers Rosalina. On to Zero Suit Samus. So with ZSS, I'm gonna be completely honest. This is a matchup I am the least comfortable with out of all the S and A tier characters that you see right here. So this is probably, I might make another video on this matchup later, just because I definitely need to get better at this matchup myself. Though maybe that's just me and I still understand it and I just suck at it. I don't know. Either way, I do know how to play the matchup for the most part, so I'll go over that. I think this matchup is -1 for Falcon. She slightly wins, but it's not bad. Common theme here. A lot of the matchup is going to be her camping with a lot of back airs and neutral air because she isn't going to be able to effectively approach you without taking a huge risk. If you think she is going to approach, you usually just want to spot dodge, don't roll or anything else. Spot dodge will beat dash attack and dash grab, and you'll just be in prime position to punish her pretty much no matter where she positions herself. Whereas rolling might get you screwed over by one of the former. Spot dodging, if they're going to dash attack or dash grab, will win always. So just spot dodge is your best friend in this matchup when you think she's going to approach. Otherwise, she's just going to use a lot of back airs and neutral airs, or something Nairo started doing recently is doing short hop immediate forward airs into like jab. If they use a combination of neutral airs and back airs, then you can just basically do the exact same thing to them and use dash attacks and dash grabs. But if they don't, then they're going to use forward air to try and discourage you from doing fast fall up air setups. So mostly you just want to weave between, you mostly want to switch between a more proactive game plan with like dash grab, dash attack, and fast fall up air, and then switch back between that and zoning with back air and retreating up air, so that if they're doing the forward air plan with like the forward air plan with down smash, you're just zoning them and then you just react and punish. And if they're doing the zoning plan, then you just go in. So either one of those, it works. You just have to make sure that you're cognizant of which they're going to use at any given time and mix it up. Because you're not necessarily going to be able to up air do fast fall up airs that much on their shield or what have you if they're forward airing a lot, because that's just going to smother that aerial space and beat out a lot of your preferred options. Regarding having her in disadvantage, it's actually kind of similar to Sheik. In fact, it's almost exactly the same as Sheik, to where they're just going to down B the moment hit stun's over most of the time. So you either want to make them feel like they have to do it off stage to where now you can ledge trap them, or if you think they're not going to go off stage, then you just chase after them, read the other direction, and then just back air, knee, or down air them, or what have you. Or if they're not at percents where those will kill, it's usually best to just go for an up air into another up air, or an up air into neutral air, or even if they're at the right percents, you might be able to do up air into 50-50 knee, down air. But I'll leave the judgment of the situation to you. Otherwise, you aren't necessarily going to be able to juggle her for forever, so make sure that you push your guaranteed damage as far as you can, and then just focus on chasing her, not necessarily throwing out hitboxes past that time. When she has you in disadvantage, you usually want to try and focus on DIing straight up until you're at percents where she's going to like up air, up B you. And after that point, it's usually better to just DI down and SDI straight down. That way, sure, you'll still get comboed, but at the very least, you're not going to die the vast majority of the time. And this is true even if she up Bs you. You don't necessarily want to DI down and away from up B. It's usually better to just DI straight down and resist the vertical kill as much as possible. As long as they're not like past the ledge of any stage. If you DI straight down, you're probably not going to die horizontally, so you just have to focus on not dying from the top. And obviously the optimal way to do that is just DI straight down. So focus on that. Make sure you don't DI down and away during the combo so that she won't have to up B you off stage. Because if she up Bs you off stage, you won't be able to offset the lackluster horizontal knockback by just DIing straight down, and you'll have to worry about dying off the side. So just make sure that you're not below, or rather you're not above like the abyss. You're always above the stage when the combo is happening, so you can just DI straight down. So just stay towards the center of the stage as long as there aren't platforms that will assist the combo, and then just DI straight down for the most part, and you should be fine up until like really high percents, in which case you're gonna die anyway, so it's okay. Let's see. Recovering against ZSS, you mostly just want to figure out how they're going to down smash you, and then either if they're going to down smash, if they're like waiting for you to do a get up option, you can just up B through them and grab them. If they're not, you usually don't want to do regular get up against ZSS. You mostly want to do like get up B, ledge jump, or roll. Almost every single time. You might want to do ledge get up like once in a blue moon, but be very, very careful about that one because she's incredibly good at blowing that option in particular up. They're going to edge guard you a lot with like Zair and stuff like that too, but you mostly just want to save your double jump and try and recover as low as you can to force them to either down B or down smash. Both of which you have enough flexibility on your up B to be able to avoid the vast majority of the time, as long as you have good control of your character, which, if you're here in the first place, hopefully you do. Edgeguarding her, well, I'm going to be completely honest, you're not going to edgeguard her very much. You kind of just want to let her get back on stage and just ledge trap her, with just your normal combination of jabs and what have you. Otherwise, just try and keep her from safely down being back and punish that with like back air or up air. Alright, next matchup, Fox. Also -1 for Falcon. Not terrible, but Fox definitely wins. This matchup is actually fairly similar to the Ditto in the sense that both characters destroy each other in neutral, both characters destroy each other in disadvantage, and both characters destroy each other off stage. And you can lose at you can die at almost any percent if the situation is just right, kind of like the Ditto. A lot of what Fox is going to be doing is just running around dash attack, not necessarily dash grab that much, except out of like short hops and things like that. A lot of time if Fox short hops at you, it's best to just assume they're going to tomahawk grab you and to just jab it instead. Unless they're doing it backwards, in which case they might back air. But if they're doing it towards you, if they're doing it facing you, you should just assume they're going to tomahawk. If they're going to rely on, say, back air zoning or a full hop down air, you usually just want to try and drift away from it, perfect pivot to get your spacing perfect, and then just dash grab or dash attack them. It's mostly just a very reaction-driven matchup since neither character can force that much upon the other, and neither character, or rather both characters, can punish most of what the other character does on reaction to some extent. So a lot of it is just faking things out and then just going for reactions. So make sure that you just focus on just pure reactions much more than you are in most matchups, and just be your fastest. Look out for the tiny little things you can punish on reaction. If they jab, you can if you shield jab and they get you to where you start falling back with shield, wait until you're right at the end of his range and then start charging forward smash. No matter when they let go, you'll be able to on reaction hit them with it, and because of the pullback, he won't be able to hit you with the last hit if he drops it right then. So you can just forward smash Fox for jabbing your shield, it's great. And then if they release earlier than that, that's also great. You can just drop shield and then dash grab them and have a party or whatever. Regarding dealing with jab, that's about it. It's mostly just about reading how they're going to move around and try and move out of their options. So like if they're out of full hop down air, do they immediately run away? When you get a certain range to them, do they immediately run away? If they do run away, do they press a certain button while doing it? If you get a certain range, will they always run away, or will they sometimes run towards you? Will they sometimes shield or spot dodge? Things like that. It's all about movement reads and reaction times. That honestly is about how you play the matchup. Just make sure in neutral you don't really do things that they can easily react to and punish. You don't really want to jab in neutral unless they're running in and they're close to you so that they won't have time to react to the jab by the time it's out. You mostly just want to run around a lot, do back air zoning, and like some fast fall up air and dash attack. That's kind of it, honestly. The neutral is relatively simple, or rather, it's relatively linear in what moves you use. You mostly just want to move as unpredictably as possible so that if they miss anything for any reason, you'll be able to punish it on reaction. And of course, they're basically doing the exact same thing to you. You're both super fast, so it works. Disadvantage, you mostly want to DI and SDI straight up so you can get out of up tilt stuff as early as possible. Except if they up tilt you at 0, you want to DI down so that you can immediately grab or jab them. Any higher than that, though, you want to DI up and away from them and then just try and get out of that as soon as possible. And sometimes when you fall out of it, they'll try and up air you again or up tilt you again, and you'll be able to Falcon kick before they can up tilt you again. So sometimes you can actually combo break their stuff with Falcon kick. It might sound weird, but it's actually pretty solid against Fox. And if you can't or don't want to do that, you can also jump away sometimes. Although that's riskier because they might catch your jump with up tilt and then you're stuck and it's bad. Because if you're being juggled without a double jump against Fox, it's a living hell, gonna be completely honest. Otherwise, you mostly just want to treat being juggled similarly to how you treat being juggled by Rosalina, to where instead of big hitboxes, he just has all the speed in the world. So it's better to just try and force them to guess between left or right immediately next to them, and then just when they mess up, you'll be able to start your own strings. So it's mostly just about reading how they're going to do that, reading how they're going to move around you in neutral, and then making sure that you keep things ambiguous and non-committal so that the moment they do something, the moment they miss something, you can just punish it on reaction. Now, regarding offstage, against Fox, you mostly want to discourage high up Bs with a combination of back air and just knee attempts, so that they'll try and either side B on side B the ledge, which you can down air, or fire Fox, which you can back air, down air, or knee. You want to practice your true frame down airs extensively against Fox, so that when they recover, so then they try to grab the ledge with side B, you can kill them at like 30 before the hit. And that's not even an exaggeration. Such is the matchup, I suppose. Or if they're going to do it but you won't be able to get there in time, you can try and down tilt or up tilt as well. Both options work. It depends on the percentage and current positioning. Up tilt is better if you don't think you're going to be able to hit down tilt, but down tilt is generally better otherwise. Even though that sounds contradictory, the hitbox on down tilt is so much better by the ledge that it's just that much easier to actually hit them, which makes it worth it, because something that reliably puts them in a position where you can kill them is better than something that unreliably kills them. At least I think so. Want to make sure your game plan is as consistent and realistic as possible. Otherwise, if they're going to Firefox, you can, if they're at lower percents, you can just intercept it with weak knee and then down air them, and they're not really going to be able to do anything about that. If they're doing it low, you usually just want to down air or back air them. You can also chase Fox off stage, and if they're forced to up B or side B, you can just do reverse up B, and it's great. Just try and do it so that you'll land back on stage so you can ledge trap them again. Holding jab is broken against Fox, because if they try and jump past you and then you just jab, let go of jab and they'll be forced to up B, and then you can just down air them or what have you. It's actually so good. Like, I mean, obviously you want to hold jab at the ledge against a lot of characters, but it's especially good against them. My goodness. It's on another level of good against Fox in particular, because of that. And I guess Falco too, but he's not necessarily going to try and get off the ledge the same way, so it almost isn't the same. Anyway, regarding recovering against Fox, it's mostly just worrying about up tilt, really, because it's not really worth it for them to chase you off stage, so mostly they're just going to up tilt. So mostly you just want to figure out when they're going to up tilt, which is usually just whatever the most logical and normal time that people up B with Falcon is. So make sure that your up B timing is at least a little bit different than that, so that when that happens, you'll be able to just get past it and then either get there before them or get there after them. If you think that they're going to up tilt before you actually up B, then you want to hold down on the control stick so you'll go past the ledge and command grab them, which is great. You do some damage. And as long as they're not at like 0, then they won't be able to punish it either. So you just get some nice damage in, and the more you can trade and just hit Fox in general, the better. It's even if you don't get back on stage, just hitting him does wonders because of how little it takes for you to kill him in general. Let's see. Otherwise, once you're already, other than mixing up your up B and Raptor Trump so that you don't have to worry about getting up tilted, getting back on stage kind of sucks too. You pretty much never want to do ledge get up attack, and you very rarely want to do ledge jump either. You mostly just want to do regular ledge get up and roll, and try and mix up your timings. Like, don't necessarily just get up immediately when you're on the ledge. Try and get up at different timings. Like, maybe you get up immediately, or maybe you get up with a half-second delay the first time regular get up, and then the next time you do it immediately, and then the next time you do it wait a second, and then the next time you do roll at half a second, or just timings like that, so that you just make it harder for them to do, because they're not, you won't really be able to get around those options. You just have to bank on them messing up, which they can realistically do if you mix up those timings constantly. So you'll get back on stage, you just might take some damage in the process, which is okay, just as long as you make sure that you're getting hit by things that aren't going to kill you. Because you can live for a long time occasionally against Fox. And Rage Falcon against Fox, whew, it's a fun time. Otherwise, I think that about covers it for Fox. Moving on to Sonic. Alright, so with Sonic, I think this matchup is -1 for Falcon. He slightly loses to most of the good characters, but since it's only slight, you can still very realistically win the matchup, so it's fine. Now this matchup is mostly about trying to mitigate spin dash camping as much as possible and forcing them to use more traditional neutral options such as run up stop F tilt or run up shield, or them using short hop, up air in your face, or forward air back air, things like that. The way you're going to do this is you want to get around the center of the stage and use a combination of jab into perfect pivot jab into more perfect pivot jabs, into back airs, into, what was the other thing again? Oh yes, pivot runaway forward tilts, or runaway turnaround forward tilts, and just raw grabs. You want to make Sonic not want to use spin dash, so that they'll just like spin dash camp and not necessarily approach you with it, because if they do that, that means you can run up towards them. And if you run up towards them, you don't necessarily want to try and actually hit them. Just make them feel like they have to let go of spin dash so that you can shield it or jab it, and then just chase them down. You want to stay around the center of the stage at pretty much all times fighting Sonic, for the simple reason that if they spin dash past you, that if they are forced to, say, jump and then land with it, then you'll be able to chase them down because you're fast enough to, and if you're in the center of the stage, then no matter where they go, they won't be able to get far away enough from you without going off stage to where you can't punish them on reaction most of the time. That's why you need to stay around the center of the stage when you do this, so that when they spin dash, you can just chase them down. The way they're mostly going to do this is a combination of either jumping, trying to get to the other part of the stage and then spot dodging. They'll go up high and then up B, in which case you can just chase them down. Or they'll just stop spin dash by holding down the control stick, so they basically just stop to a skid. Regarding stopping the skid option, just jab out of shield or grab out of shield beats it very consistently and very realistically on reaction, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. Just focus on really watching what they do and just reacting, because you can deal with all of them on reaction and make sure that Sonic gets punished solidly for spin dashing you around the center of the stage. As long as it doesn't hit anyway. If he does the jump option, you can just chase him down and dash grab. And if they do the up B option, you just want to try try and immediately run under them and shield up B so that you can then just chase them freely, and there will be very little they can do to stop you from just up airing them into oblivion. When you do up air them, don't necessarily, especially at lower percents, you don't want to do full hop up air unless you fast fall it immediately. Make sure that you immediately fall away so that if they then do like fast fall neutral air or something like that, you won't trade hits and then suddenly you're above them. Make sure that you're just doing fast fall instant up airs so that when you hit them, great. You won't necessarily get any combos, but you'll just continue. You can just do another instant up air. It's okay. And they won't be able to beat it out. Force them to switch between air dodging and trying to trade with things, and if they air dodge because you do instant up air, you'll be able to like jab or grab them or what have you. You mostly just want to focus on frame trapping his landings into oblivion when you're chasing Sonic like this. Don't necessarily get greedy. And with his combos, a lot of optimal Sonic is going to be just up being out of hit stun immediately, so don't necessarily go for combos that aren't particularly frame tight. Just rack up damage as much as you can, and it's okay to forego potential kill setups as long as you're getting damage. Just make sure that you're getting it as consistently as possible, because the damage war is extremely important against Sonic. He's going to be able to do a lot of damage to you as well, so you have to make sure that you can do that, because he's generally better at racking up damage than you are. So just make sure you live a long time, and make sure that the things you do get hit by are the things that aren't going to kill you, because it's relatively okay to get hit by Sonic for the most part. Just make sure you don't get hit by immediate spin dash combos. Make sure you don't get hit by up air into up B up air in the bubble, and make sure you don't get hit by forward smash or like back air off stage. As long as you get hit by just about anything else, it's fine. Just make sure you play neutral in a way to avoid the other options, and almost not, I wouldn't say ignore the other moves that he could hit you with, but don't prioritize avoiding them. Just prioritize avoiding the things that will lead to lots of damage, and if you get hit by one of the other things, whatever, it's not a big deal. And just go back to avoiding the other things. Because if he hits you with the other things, he basically has to hit you with those a gazillion times before he's actually going to be able to kill you. And if he's won neutral a gazillion times, then you've probably also won neutral plenty of times. And that probably means that you've gotten significantly more damage than they have, so it's okay. Just force them to hit you with the things that matter, and then if they don't, just ignore it for the most part. Otherwise, when Sonic has you in disadvantage, when he hits you with forward air, you want to SDI that straight down. You can actually fall out with a decent amount of reliability. If he's hitting you with up air, it depends on what side he is relative to you, how you SDI it, but say hypothetically I'm in a northwest position and he's in a southeast position when he starts at the up air. What you do then is you DI up and towards Sonic. Generally speaking, you just want to DI up and towards Sonic and mash the control stick, and you'll actually be able to fall out of up air a decent percentage of the time. SDI forward air straight down, SDI up air up and towards them, and then you want to, if you think that up air is going to potentially kill, or they're going to try and use like spin dash setups, you want to when you're SDIing spin dash itself to avoid follow-ups, you usually just want to SDI down and towards them. Down and towards them for like side B and down B. Up and towards them for up air, and then straight down for forward air. Those are the main SDI things you have to keep in mind against Sonic. Practice them religiously and you'll be able to do it very consistently. Now, most of what Sonic's going to do to edgeguard you is use a combination of spring and then like chasing you with forward airs and back airs. With spring, you don't have to worry about it too much most of the time. Just, they're not going to be able to represent all of their options without a being at some point. So if they jump after you, just make sure not to get hit by back air. And if they forward air, SDI it straight down so you can then SDI straight down and then mash jump so that the moment you fall out of it, you can just jump back up and then grab the ledge or whatever. Or if you don't have a jump, mash straight down and then up B immediately so that you can just grab the ledge and you'll be fine. Otherwise, you mainly just want to avoid getting hit by back air and force them to use their resources so that they can up B, and then because of the amount of flexibility in your up B, most of the time you'll be able to just avoid it. So it's not that big of a concern. And if you are going to be hit by spring, try to get hit by the inner hit of spring so that you can go towards the stage and then let's check wall jump Raptor Trump, or let's check wall jump up B if they're close by the stage. Just make sure that you play very safe and conservative off stage and don't necessarily try to reversal Sonic that much. Also, regarding edge guarding Sonic, for the most part, you don't really want to. You mostly just want to try and keep them from like spin shotting on stage or jumping on stage. So just cover the stage with back airs or forward smash if they're going to try and spin shot, so that they're discouraged from doing that, and then they just try and recover down. Or recover from below. If they recover from below, you can true frame up B with down air, so just focus on doing that. And if that doesn't work, you might be able to ledge jump back air, but I wouldn't rely on it too much because Sonic can beat that option. You mostly just want to keep them from coming on stage and then just either true framing them with down air or up tilt, or just ledge trapping them with your normal things that you use to ledge trap characters with. You should really only go off stage against Sonic under one circumstance, and that's if like you're up and you're roughly like northwest or northeast of them angle wise. That's actually a position you can do a lot to threaten Sonic, but don't fast fall stuff in that position. If you get below Sonic while you're edge guarding him, it's a bad time. You want to make sure that when you're edge guarding Sonic, you do it from above him at all times. And if you're not, don't even bother. It's not worth it. The only exception would be like if you think that they're going to try and recover super low, you could try and fall off stage and then go for a footstool into down air, or if they're too low, you won't even need to do anything. But even that is super situational, and I only recommend doing that if you're extremely confident that they're going to wait to try and up B into the ledge. Also, if they try and up B past the ledge, just like cover it with jab or whatever. Don't let them do that to you. I think that about... Oh wait, one more thing that I needed to mention for neutral. When you, other than focusing on negating spin dashes by just not committing to anything and making them getting close enough to them where they feel like they have to do something, and then just not doing anything and then shielding it or whatever. Obviously, that's your main game plan against Sonic, but every now and then you want to actually go for dash grabs and dash attacks, but you don't want to do it often because spin dash will generally beat it. It's better to just make them feel like you're not going to do anything, and then once they feel like you're not going to do anything, then you can dash grab or dash attack. But the moment you actually land one, go back to doing what you were doing before. That way, they feel just threatened enough to where they'll spin dash when you get close enough to them, but not so much that you'll just continue to get spin dashed over and over again for whiffing dash grabs or dash attacks. That about sums up Sonic. On to the next character in top tier, Mario. Alright, so with Mario, this matchup is -1 for Falcon. Not bad, not good, but very doable. For this matchup, you mostly want to play neutral in a very zoning-oriented way. What I mean by this is your run speed is significantly faster than Mario's, and you also have longer limbs than he does. So if you do a lot of back air camping, a lot of back air and neutral air camping, and then like perfect pivot, jab, and dash dancing, it's actually pretty hard for Mario to get in on you. You mostly just want to stall for enough time to where you get an idea of how they like to do their back airs. Do they do back air? Do they do back air into immediate fast fall roll into fast fall spot dodge or running or whatever? Do they like do perfect pivot, down tilt, or up tilt? How else do they like to move out of back air? When they do neutral air, will they just drift towards you the whole time, or will they like do it and then fall back? Things like that, and just figure out how they're going to use those options and then punish them accordingly. If you focus on just walling out Mario for the most part, he'll either just approach or start using fireballs and flood. If he uses fireballs, you usually just want to try and jump over them and then intercept him in the air. Or if he uses flood, you can use that as an opportunity to get stage control and then just kind of wall him at the ledge, which can be very annoying for Mario to deal with. And if they're just going to focus on running around ambiguously, then for the most part you want to do that too while focusing on walling them out. You just stall for enough time to where you can get an idea of how, until you're confident of how they do any of these given things in neutral, so that you can run in and punish them with dash grab or dash attack. the efficacy of your zoning options is mostly predicated on Mario feeling like he has to do something. And that's mostly going to work if you can effectively zone him out using your double hit neutral airs, back airs, perfect toe jab, and dash dancing. So mainly just stay at a comfortable distance, but don't necessarily just run away from him the whole time either, or he'll get free stage control. Hold your ground a lot against Mario and just wall him out. It'll probably be fine for you, I promise. Because his main ways of winning neutral that'll beat that won't necessarily lead to a grab, which means you don't have to worry about getting down throw, up tilted into oblivion or whatever. It's okay to get hit by most of Mario's moves, just make sure that you don't get hit by things that lead into down throw or that lead into a fastball up air. Just about anything else it's okay to get hit by, and you almost want to ignore in neutral, similar to how you want to ignore a lot of Sonic's moves. Simply because you getting hit by them almost doesn't matter. Just make sure you don't get hit by the things that do matter, and you'll be fine for the most part. Unless, like, your neutral game is complete garbage, and you're, like, actually just getting hit by a gazillion tiny things and not hitting them at all in return. But if that's the case, well, I'm not sure this video will help you beat Mario. You've got to do some other stuff and then come back. But otherwise, when you're not walling him out or scaring him into feeling like he has to move forward by occasionally approaching him, you're mostly just going to focus on beating fireballs by jumping above or flood by taking stage control. When they're not doing those, you mostly just have to worry about disadvantage state and maintaining your advantage. Maintaining advantage state against Mario is actually relatively easy. Even though neutral air is really good, as long as your combo game is strong, you'll be able to do like down throw, neutral air, up air. And then because his limbs are stubby, if he's relatively low, you can do like upward angled forward tilt and to walk forward down tilt if they try and drift away from you. If they're relatively higher up, you can just do short hop instant up airs and trade with neutral air, and then just continue to throw out more up airs. For the most part, you just want to do a lot of instant up airs and not necessarily try and go that high up. Just do them very close to the ground and just try and land immediately as soon as you can so that you can either continue to do more instant up airs or just chase them if they, say, jumped or did something else. Because you're able to punish Mario decently well despite his good frame data and get off me options. Just focus on trading with his stubby limbs or just outright beating them altogether. Because even if you're trading, you're doing more damage than he is, and you also live longer, so it's a very good trade on paper. Let's see. Another really good thing for maintaining advantage is, this might sound a little bit odd, but forward smash is also a really good option if they're going to try and move anywhere close to you. Because most of the time Mario tries to land with some kind of button, so if you're not able to outright punish it with like dash grab or dash attack, that implies that they're doing it point blank to you. And if they're landing with an aerial or whatever point blank, you can just like do turn around forward smash, run away forward smash, run forward forward smash, like foxtrot forward smash or things like that, and it'll just go through his stubby hitboxes and destroy them. Or you can like raptor boost if they're a kill percent. But for the most part, I just recommend instant up airs, back air, and forward smash for covering their landings. Unless like they land obviously and you can like obviously dash grab or dash attack, in which case you usually want to do that. But mostly focus on maintaining advantage that way. Disadvantage and combo DI, this is not so fun. This is why Mario wins the matchup, but ultimately when he grabs you, if he grabs you at like 0, you just want to DI straight down and then jab. You can actually jab before he can jab or up tilt or anything. But if you're at like 10 or 15, he'll be able to start up tilting you. You usually just want to DI straight up and SDI like your life depends on it. Even with the rest of his combos, you almost always want to DI and SDI straight up. Sure, you might take like 60 damage, but at least you're not dying. Because if you do like down and away DI variants or other things like that isn't straight up, you have to worry about them reading your DI and then being able to combo you literally to death. That's something I learned playing against Zinyu, is you don't really want to mix that up that much. You want to do mostly just up DI variants, like up and away, up and towards, or just straight up. If you do almost anything else and the Mario's combo game is good, you legitimately might get 10 to deaths or something like that. That's not unrealistic, as I came to learn from Zinyu. So just DI up to the left or up to the right, like your life depends on it, and just mix it up based on the situation. Mash that stick. Also, in a lot of cases, you want to try and mash double jump as well, because if you jump away, Mario's options for catching you after you jump away are really not that great. So it's better to just jump away. Sure, you took some damage, but at least you're not dead, and you're not taking as much damage as you would have taken otherwise. You don't really want to air dodge much. Just DI and SDI straight up, northwest or northeast, and then just try and jump out as much as you can. And then just get away from him, because you have the mobility to do so. He won't really be able to chase you down effectively. Like, he might have you cornered, but he won't be able to, like, actively hit you immediately. So you'll have a chance to reset neutral, which is better than just not even getting to do that. You'll have your jumps back. You can think of something. Regarding dealing with him offstage, you can edgeguard him decently, but you mostly just want to force Mario to recover low, and then try and, like, trade with up B or true frame him with down air, both of which you can do decently realistically. So you mostly just want to scare them into recovering high by being good at your true frame down airs, and if you're not, well, don't even bother, just ledge trap him. But if they try to recover high, they'll usually do so like with Fireball. Just try and jump over that if you can and back air them. You mostly just want to try and stay a little bit above them when you're edge guarding, and don't necessarily try to edge guard them from below, because then you have to worry about them just throwing out forward air and just killing you at stupid percents. It's better to just take the forward air, don't worry about it. Otherwise, just focus on beating out neutral air with back airs. If they do jump Fireball, just jump over it and do another back air. You mostly just want a back air, honestly, so just jump or double jump back air based on the situation. And otherwise, when you're recovering against Mario, they might go off stage against you. He's not that great at it, though, aside from cape. You mostly just want to wait until Mario presses a button of some sort, and then just get around it and dodge. You have enough flexibility in your up B and side B to where, for the most part, unless they force you to use your resources because they hit you really far away, for the most part, you actually don't have to worry about getting edge guarded by Mario that much. Just up air if they try to cape you, or just try and hit them if they hit you, or if they try and go low to edge guard you, like back airs or whatever, just do double jump up B immediately and just get on stage. Otherwise, if you're worried about dash attack, don't DI towards the stage. If you do up B and then you either let go of the control stick or you hold away from the stage, when they hit you with a dash attack, you will not get stage spiked. Ever. That's a huge piece of advice that a lot of Falcons might not know, but please, for the love of God, do not DI towards the stage when you're up B'ing when they dash attack. That's how you get stage spiked, that's how you die, and if you don't do that, it literally will not happen. So it's great, you live. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but he's not going to be able to edge guard you, so worst case scenario, you might get dash attacked yet again, which does like 6 damage. It's not a big deal. As long as you're not getting hit by the stage spiking, then it really doesn't matter. Just force them to be perfect with that timing. Taking another 6 is not the end of the world. Whatever. You just need to make sure you're not getting hit by the things that will actually kill you, like cape when they cape during up B, or back air at high percents, or things like that. Because if they try and go off stage and you do things like that, you can actually fairly easily reversal them off stage, so that's something you want to make sure you can take advantage of. It's not good for Mario to go off stage that much, so usually they're just going to try and cape you if you recover too high. Pro tip, don't. You mostly just want to Raptor Trump or just up B very, very low so that they won't be able to cape you, and just force them to try and dash attack and time it perfectly. You up B low or you Raptor Trump. Or if they try and come after you with back airs, you recover really high with double jump up B. That is how you recover against Mario. I think that about covers it, so done with Mario, and on to Mewtwo, the next character in A tier. So I think this matchup is even. Both these characters destroy each other, although in somewhat different ways. Fun fact, down throw knee, no matter their DI, is true on Mewtwo. Only character in the game that down throw knee is literally always true on. Anyway, with that out of the way, the main way you want to play neutral game is Mewtwo is going to use a combination of down tilts, phasing towards you with neutral airs, and Shadow Ball, and rolling. So for the most part, Mewtwo wants to play the neutral game by camping at the ledge, and then either hitting you, or if you get too close to him, he'll want to like neutral air past you, run away either just normally, or run away for a little bit and then neutral air to the ledge. He basically just wants to go from one ledge to the next endlessly against you until he gets some kind of conversion, or gets some kind of combo started so that he can then chase you down. Because Mewtwo, if he's staying around the center of the stage, he has to worry about your burst options for the most part. And if you dash grab or dash attack him at the ledge, then you, for the most part, you won't really be able to get follow-ups out of it because of him being light and floaty. So smart Mewtwo's are just going to camp right by the ledges for the most part. And you just have to figure out their down tilt and forward air patterns and just break through. If they're going to try and, or rather when they're doing their camping patterns with like forward air, down tilt, and shadow ball, just figure out when they like to down tilt, forward air, and shadow ball. Just camp until you have the information necessary to realize how they're going to use those. And then just like dash attack or dash grab in the openings in between those hitboxes. And most of what Mewtwo is going to do to try and keep you from being able to do that effectively is mix it up with like jumping towards you with neutral airs or like dash attack. Dash attack is honestly super annoying, and more annoying to me than neutral air is. You mainly just want to, instead of just standing outside of his range and waiting for an opening, you want to dash dance a lot when inside and out of that little range to where you can punish them. To where, yeah, you'll put yourself out of range of punishing them sometimes, but at least then you won't have, like, always get dash attacked or whatever. And rolling towards them is also good for the same reason, because if they do dash attack, you'll be able to just dash grab them into imagination. So you mostly just try and negate dash attack by a combination of dash dancing, holding jab, but don't do it for long or they can like forward air you. And then just like drifting back with double hit neutral air, or drifting backwards fast fall back air or up air. Regarding how you deal with neutral air, you can actually deal with that with if they try and do it and they're at higher percents, you can like forward smash it. You can do both hits of your neutral air are actually pretty good at beating out Mewtwo's neutral air, so that's one way to beat it out with a good amount of reliability, is to just do neutral air, land, do another neutral air, and do another neutral air to try and discourage them from neutral airing. Yours will beat out theirs the vast majority of the time, and you can also just do like reverse arrow rush back air and then fall back with upwards angled forward tilt if they try and squeeze in between after the back air. And that will also beat out their nairs most of the time. So for the most part, they're not going to be able to approach effectively with nair if you can do that when they're doing that. So most of it, the matchup, since both these characters have strong counterplay to pretty much everything the other character can do, it's just going to be about reading when they're going to use what options and when. So this is a very cerebral matchup. Make sure that you're paying extremely close attention to when they like to neutral air, when they like to mix up between approaching you with dash attack or nair and just camping with fair, down tilt, and shadow ball, and when they're going to try and just run past you. Those are the main things that they can do, and the things I mentioned are the main things you can do. Both of which are very capable. Both have plenty of options for beating everything the other character can do, but Mewtwo definitely has, I want to say he has a very slight advantage in neutral game. It's only slight though because you have strong counterplay to literally everything he can do, even though Mewtwo generally maintains initiative. What makes up for the fact that you have that is you can edge guard him solidly, you can ledge trap him really solidly, and boy do you kill him early. You being able to kill him so early makes up for the fact that he wins the neutral game. And yeah, he can kill you earlier than a lot of characters can too because of his good kill power and offstage game. But realistically, you're going to kill him like a good 30 to 40% before he kills you most of the time, which makes up for his slight neutral game advantage and makes the matchup even, in my opinion. Let's see. Regarding offstage and disadvantage for Falcon, when you're in disadvantage, especially in neutral air, you actually want to DI and SDI straight up. His combos for chasing you are mostly at their strongest when you DI away, because he has enough aerial mobility to chase you down and just continue to follow you. But there's only so high you can go before he's able to effectively keep hitting you with things. Like, he combos effectively horizontally. So you just want to negate that as much as possible and just DI and SDI straight up. When he's neutral airing you, just mash straight up on the control stick. Try and jump out if you can. Sometimes you'll be able to. Or if they're neutral airing you from below, SDI straight down, and oftentimes you can actually fall out of it and then run away before the move finishes. If they're doing their other combos, like forward air combos, you're gonna die if you do like down and away DI, because they're fast enough to chase you horizontally, but not fat. Their vertical chasing options are so much worse, so just DI up. I know I'm saying this a lot, but I cannot stress enough how important it is that you take his juggles vertically as much as possible, because his ability to meaningfully continue to hurt you and kill you are significantly inhibited by you going straight up. Just go up and you'll be fine for the most part. You're not going to worry about having to suffer through a degenerate forward air combo that kills you way too early or something like that if you do that. It simply will not happen. Unless they have like the most perfect positioning on like the Smashville platform or whatever. Okay, regarding offstage against Mewtwo, I forgot for a second. When Mewtwo is chasing you offstage, he's mostly going to rely on like going after you with back airs or neutral air. Or if he gets a hard read, he might get like go for forward air or down air, but those are a lot more of a commitment. But for the most part, you want to try and recover very low against Mewtwo and try and recover below the stage and curve up the stage so that if they hit you with anything, you can just ledge check wall jump, like up air, neutral air them or something like that. You mostly just want to do that because Mewtwo isn't able to effectively chase you and kill you under the stage that well. So it's best to just try and make sure that you're getting hit towards the stage so you can ledge check wall jump, get back on stage, or if you're confident you'll be able to hit him, go to town, I'll trust you on that. It's usually best to just ledge check wall jump Raptor Trump and get back on stage, or ledge check wall jump side B over the stage if you're high enough when you do it. Or another option is just regular ledge check, not wall jump, into reverse up B so that you can try and get a reversal on them. Regarding edge guarding them, you mostly just want to chase them with back airs. Just try and make sure that once Mewtwo gets at the range where he can up B, you're around there and harassing him with back airs so that he has to worry about trying to either up B high, go lower so you can potentially true frame him with down air, or if they try and recover on the stage, you can just down air them flat out, or forward smash slash down tilt if they're going to try and, say, land on the stage with Nair or something like that. That's mainly how you want to edge guard him, and I think that about sums up that matchup. Next up, in top tier, is Marth. So regarding Marth, I think this matchup is also even, although I think there is quite a large learning curve in the matchup for Falcon. So like at lower levels, I think Marth pretty solidly beats Falcon. But assuming both players know the matchup well, I think the matchup is basically even. It's something that took me a while to get good at, but hey, like I said, there's a learning curve and it took me a while to learn it. So probably take most people a while to learn it too, but that's fine. Just put in the work, you'll be good in no time. So a lot of what Marth can do, you can actually punish on reaction if you're close to him. So most of what Marth is going to be doing is like doing neutral airs from distances to where he's far enough to where he can like spot dodge or roll or whatever. He'll run up and forward air or Dancing Blade, that's what it's called. I forgot what it was called for a second. Brain lapse. He'll run up in forward air / dancing blade. You'll very occasionally dash attack if you're by the ledge, but he usually won't want to do it otherwise. And they also like to do dash dance camping with like drifting back airs, grabs, and like occasionally just standing jab. All of those options are mainly what Marth is going to want to do to hit you. For beating his forward options, dancing blade and dash attack, or just run up grab, you mostly just want to, if you think he's going to do that, you perfect pivot and shield. Perfect pivot backwards and shield. And if he doesn't, and if you're not immediately getting hit by a move that you're shielding, perfect pivot backwards again and shield again. For the most part, you want to force Marth to go for that super risky dash grab. That way, if they do it, great, they got the read on your double perfect pivot. But if not, then they just hit your shield with dancing blade or dash attack, in which case, awesome, now you can punish them into oblivion. He's also a character you can very easily do dash grab, down throw into footstool reset, into down air, downward angled forward tilt, into fast fall up air, into either a footstool if they're around the center of the stage, or if they're not, you probably just want to do fast fall up air into knee, fast fall up air into up tilt if they're off the stage after the up air, or fast fall up air into neutral air, short hop neutral air, fast fall that, and to chase them down fast into full hop up air knee or full hop up air neutral air based on their DI. Otherwise, that's how you mainly beat his favorite approaching options. Oh wait, I forgot one of the other ones. And that's just jumping towards you with neutral air. That's pretty safe on shield if they space it well, so for the most part, just respect it and back off if it happens. And obviously, if they don't space it perfectly, then you can just shield grab them like you would anything else. Or shield, or just a jab. Otherwise, there are standing options and there are aerial options. One of their main aerial options is going to be full hop forward air, which obviously they really like doing because it'll hit you from the ground, and then they can land pretty much however they want pretty safely for the most part. Most of the time you can assume that Marth is going to want to land by pressing a button, so it's better to just stay just outside of that range, try and figure out where they're going to drift, and then make sure that don't necessarily try and punish it based off of their current position. Try and figure out where they're going to drift, which most of the time is going to be as far away from you as possible, and then try and space yourself just outside of that attack with that in mind. So for instance, if you hit Marth with dash attack and then up air, and then they're going to try and fall with neutral air right by the ledge, don't assume that they're going to fast fall neutral air in their current position. Assume they're going to fast fall there so you can get a little closer. Because you getting a little closer is the amount of distance that you need to be able to actually punish the very low ending lag on it. You will not be able to punish the landing lag on these options unless you're just barely outside of the range when they land with the move. So that's why it's important that you don't punish their current position, but where they're going to eventually land through drifting. So just chase it down and just make sure that you master that tiny little interval of space that you can weave in with dash grab or dash attack. Let's see, regarding his standing options, you mostly just want to do a lot of dash dancing and make Marth feel like they either have to throw out one of their aerials, which you can then chase them down with, or make them drift away with a move that you can then punish on reaction. Otherwise, to try and discourage them from being able to move around freely and make them do one of the aforementioned options, you want to do a decent more dash grabbing and dash attacking than you do in most matchups. And you also want to do fast fall and neutral air, but make sure you land with the second hit so that it combos into grab. If you do other neutral air variants, they'll be able to punish you on reaction. And otherwise, it's good because Marth is tall, so if they get hit with the first hit, they'll get hit by the second hit as well. So short hop immediate neutral air into fast falling to where you land with the second hit is actually super good against Marth, and I recommend doing it a lot in general. Otherwise, there's like drift away back air, but you mostly just want to run around and make them scared of your dash grabs and dash attacks, and then use that to cover the aforementioned options. Now comes the not so fun part. Off stage. most of the time when Marth has you off stage, it's going to be a bad time. That's what makes the matchup even, because I think Falcon wins on stage, but he loses off stage and on the ledge. But on stage is more important, so it makes up for the fact that you get edge guarded and ledge trapped pretty hard. And you can kind of edge guard him too, but it's not great. You can ledge trap him pretty well though. Regarding offstage, you mostly just want to try and force them to hit you as close to the stage as possible instead of being able to come out earlier. Try to recover really low, and then if they're going to come low with you to try and footstool you or whatever, just up air them. And if they're going to try and not do that, just go really, really low, go under them, and then recover up the lip of the stage to force them to hit you so that you can ledge tech wall jump, like double jump on stage or raptor trump or just regular side B back on stage. Just something like that. Just try and force Marth to hit you with moves that you can tech and then just get out of there. And make sure you always do ledge tech wall jump as well, otherwise you have to worry about him just continuing to hit you again. Just get out of there immediately. Don't play games with Marth off stage, it's not worth it. Because his offstage game is just so much better than yours. At least in this matchup anyway. You're not really going to be able to do much to threaten him there. But when he's not doing that, they're usually going to try and like forward air you much earlier, in which case, if they're going to try and chase you really far off stage with forward air, back air, or whatever, it's usually best to just do double jump and then up B high, and then try and get on, not on the ledge, but past the ledge, so that if they then hit you afterwards, they're not going to be able to hit you back off stage. They'll just either hit you further on stage, or they'll hit you above the stage. In both cases, things have been reset. You're back on stage. Yeah, you took some damage, but you're not dead. That's what matters. It's okay to take damage off stage, as long as you make sure that the damage you're taking isn't going to potentially kill you. As long as you just indirectly taking damage that doesn't kill you is completely fine off stage. In fact, a lot of times I actually get happy if I get like back aired back on stage, because I'm like, whew, don't have to deal with that anymore. Now I don't have to worry about being gimped. Now I'm good. You're back in neutral, which is Falcon's strong suit in the matchup because he wins it against Marth. Anyway, offstage against him, when you're chasing him, you mostly just want to maybe back air if they try and recover high, but that's about it, honestly. You should not really be chasing Marth off stage. Just accept that he's probably going to get back to the ledge, and only edgeguard him if he doesn't have enough resources to have much variance in how he can potentially get back to the ledge. Like, supposedly you hit him with a down tilt at a really bad angle, and they only have like 1 or 2 ways of being back on stage because they're just too far to exercise other potential options. That's a good time to edgeguard them, but only do it then. Only then. It's not worth it otherwise. Next up, there's the oh yes, disadvantage against Marth. Disadvantage against Marth, you mostly just want to jump and get away and just read how they're going to throw out aerials, because they're not fast enough to where you won't be able to escape him a decent amount of the time. It's usually best to try and just get back on don't get hit. It's usually best to just, if you're not going to be able to get on stage without him covering it with his sword, just like fast fall, double jump, then do fast fall air dodge into raptor trump onto the ledge so that he won't be able to hit you with anything, and then just get back into ledge trapping situation. Being ledge trapped sucks by Marth, but it's still better than being flat out off stage. So it's something you can work with. Like, you can do ledge jump, up B, you can fall off the ledge into double jump neutral air, or just regular get up and roll. Those are your main ways of getting off the stage. You do not want to do a ledge jump against Marth. It's almost always terrible. It's okay to let go of the ledge and do double jump up B or double jump neutral air. Those are fine against him. But for the love of God, do not do ledge jump. It sucks against Marth. Bad. Alright, so with that in mind, when you're being ledge trapped by him, there's those options. When you're ledge trapping him, you can kind of just do what you normally do. That about sums it up, I think. And the last top tier character based on this tier list is Ryu. I think Falcon loses this matchup -1, so it's not bad. Or it's not terrible per se. Like, you can very realistically win the matchup, like pretty much all of Falcon's losing matchups, with the exception of Chu. Anyway, a lot of this matchup is Ryu's movement is contingent on mainly doing one of three things and basically just hedging his bets almost constantly. He's either going to run in, he's going to jump in with an aerial, usually like neutral air, or maybe like back air sometimes. He'll jump close to you, try and space outside of it and not commit to the approach so that he can like up tilt. He'll jump away from you and do back air, or he'll jump away from you and then do an empty landing into like rolling or up tilt or something like that. Basically, the reason Ryu players like to mix up between these three main lines of these three main option lines between Falcons is any given thing you can do that will beat one will lose to the other two in most situations. Like dash grab will beat the landing with an aerial option, but it will lose very solidly to the other one. Or like them mixing up between those main three options along with landing with focus makes it to where if you just try and flat out punish their landings, if there's roughly, suppose hypothetically you're using any of your dash grab or dash attack exactly 50% of the time each, and they're using their options exactly 1/3 of the time each. There's roughly a 66% chance that they're going to come out on top in that interaction. So that's their main way of negating your approach game and making things annoying for you, because sure, you might get things right, but because his punish game is generally more damaging than yours, not only is he winning more often, but he's also going to do significantly more damage and consequently kill you earlier. So in most cases, it's not worth just flat out approaching Ryu that much simply because of them doing that. So your way of getting around this and having to beat out his approach game is, since Ryu will try and scare you into not being able to use your approach options so that he can approach with like neutral air and harass you with up tilts and things like that, is your main way of stopping his approach game is you can actually wall him out pretty effectively with neutral air and back air. Those are going to be the main moves you use, and you can also do perfect pivot jab if you can react to them jumping at you, and that will beat them out most of the time as well. However, your timing has to be perfect, not necessarily your spacing, because of how beefy his hitboxes are. So make sure that you try and time your button presses to come out pretty much exactly after his come out. You don't necessarily want to try and trade with them, just try and wait until you think he's going to press it, and then press yours ever so slightly afterwards, and you'll be able to beat it out. If you can wall him out, then Ryu will feel like he has to run around and not necessarily be able to approach, which means he'll go back to his 1 and 3 camping options, or they'll like up tilt, run away, or maybe get far enough away and like throw out Hadouken, stuff like that. If you can scare them into not being able to approach, then you'll get time to play the game normally and not have to worry about their obnoxious frame data on shield. Once you can wall them out enough to make them play the rest of the game, then you just try and get a read on how they're going to run away from you or rotate their 1 and 3 options so that you can approach them. Even though it might seem like it's bad on paper to approach them, you have to dash grab and dash attack at least sometimes, for the simple reason that he's just going to beat you up close. So if you're not exerting just how fast you are and making Ryu feel like he has to Ryu feel scared of your approach options, Ryu's defensive options are effective when you don't approach much. You need to approach just enough to make them feel like they have to do something. And then from there, you'll be able to, say, effectively wall him out or pressure him or any of the other things. But if you don't do that, he'll be able to just exert his superior frame data and better hitboxes. and you'll just get dominated. So you have to get some dash grabs and dash attacks. Just make sure that when you do them, they're very well chosen, and you immediately back off and don't necessarily do them again for a while. That's about it for neutral. Other than, like, good Ryus won't focus in neutral, and even if they do, just assume they're going to come towards you and punish that. And if they don't, that means they're either focus attacking, which you can also punish on reaction, or they're focusing backwards, which means great news, you have more stage control. For free. We take those. But if they don't do that, then you mostly just play neutral, dealing with the combination of things as I just mentioned. Next up is mostly going to be focusing on recognizing how to deal with them in disadvantage and how to deal with your own advantage state. Most of the time when you have them in advantage, they're just going to try and focus out of things. So make sure your combos are airtight, and if they're not, either up B or neutral air them, so that the second hit will beat out focus and you'll be able to continue to harass them. A lot of times if they try to, say, double jump high and then recover back on stage with focus, you can just up B them, and then suddenly you're able to edge guard them again, and it's great. I can't recommend this enough. Up B their focus. Do it. Because their other main option is to follow the hitbox, which up B also beats. And if you can scare them into air dodging, ooh baby. You're Falcon. They're air dodging. Do the math. You knee or down air them, and you have a great time. So most Ryus aren't going to air dodge much against you for that reason, as they shouldn't, because you can take advantage of them to the utmost. So with that in mind, if you don't have airtight combos, you want to neutral air or up E them. And if your combos are airtight, make sure you push them off stage. And once you're not able to combo them anymore, try and make them focus so you can neutral air or up E that. And if you aren't able to do that, just continue to do instant up airs and don't necessarily try to stay in the air that much with them. Just try and stay low to the ground with your aerials so that if you hit them, even if they like focus through an up air or whatever, you don't have to worry about getting punished because you'll immediately land and you'll be able to run away or something. Or jab, I guess. Otherwise, that about covers how you want to deal with Ryu in advantage. Regarding Ryu, when he has you in advantage, this sucks. You generally want to DI up and away for most of his stuff, and make sure you've really mastered mixing up your SDI against up tilt. You mostly want to DI up, or SDI up, but you actually kind of want to DI like back and forth, so that you can mess up their true Shoryu combos sometimes. Because they basically have to buffer it, if you go back and forth between left and right, you'll actually be able to escape, not get hit by the strong hit of true Shoryu a lot of the time. Or not a lot of the time, but maybe like 40% of the time. If you're good at mixing up left and right between your northwest and northeast SDI, so it will help a lot to keep you alive, at least sometimes. And sometimes it's better than never, which a lot of people thought it would be, so it's an improvement. Otherwise, when he's doing his like neutral air combos, you don't want to DI down and away, you want to DI up and away. Just stay up, force him to continue to chase you, because his ability to combo you horizontally is significantly stronger than his ability to combo you vertically. So you just want to go up as much as you can for the most part. This is true against most characters, a lot of characters now that I think about it. Anyway, he's not able to edgeguard you that effectively. He's mostly just going to ledge trap you with up tilts. But if they do try and like down air you or whatever, it's usually pretty telegraphed, so just, you have options, avoid it. And if they come after you, a lot of times you can recover, you can go under it and then reversal them with like reverse up B or things like that. So you don't really have to worry about it too much. If they try and ledge trap you with up tilt, a lot of time you can actually do a ledge jump up, or not ledge jump, but let go of the ledge into up B, or let go of the ledge into double jump neutral air, which is super good against Ryu. You want to use those to discourage Ryu from spamming up tilt at the ledge. And then from there, you can just do regular get-ups or jumping get-ups. You don't really want to roll much against Ryu on stage. You mostly just want to do nair and up B to make them not want to nair right at the ledge, so you have enough space to do regular get-ups or jumping get-ups, both of which will be relatively safe if Ryu's like that because he's not that fast. Otherwise, when you're edgeguarding Ryu, you really want to go out there against him. Like, I mean, really go out there against him. This is a character that you should try and play under the assumption that you're gonna kill him every single time he's off stage for any reason whatsoever. Chase him down. Like, don't just like jab at the ledge or up tilt at the ledge or whatever. Go off stage and go ham. You need to chase them into oblivion. If they try and Tatsu really high up, you can like jump, double jump up B in the bubble. That might sound a little crazy, but because of how much lag it has, you can realistically do that and they won't be able to do anything about it. You mostly just want to chase them with endless up Bs and back airs. And if they like try and Tatsu onto the ledge or like Tatsu at another angle, down air or back air them. Like, obviously those are your main options, or if they Tatsu and you're facing forwards and you have plenty of time, you can knee them too. You mostly just want to continue to chase them endlessly and make sure that you try and force them to focus so that you can either up B through it, or sometimes you can do like neutral air as another good option if you don't want to take the risk of up B. Just go really deep off stage and neutral air them. Just chase them into oblivion. I swear, you have to do this. Because if you don't do this, Falcon gets bodied in the matchup because he loses the neutral. But you'd absolutely body him off stage, so it almost makes up for it. So you have to really go out there against him. I can't stress it enough. I think that about sums up the Ryu matchup. And while I was planning on doing all of the characters in one video, that would be one absurdly long video, I've realized at this point, so I'm going to just break it off here and then do B and C tier in the next video. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll make timestamps. See you around.